Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. We just thought we were on our own for a second. Okay. We're going to go straight into it because there's lots of questions. You guys have seen very good questions, and we want to get straight into it so we can answer all your questions. Yes? Okay, first question. Is it not wrong to get remarried to another spouse after a divorce?
Yeah, well, in Matthew chapter 19, in verses 3 to 10, they actually came to Jesus and they asked him that exact question. They said, Moses said, it's okay if a man just writes a certificate of divorce for his wife, he can just, divorce her. He can just dump her and let her go and all of that sort of stuff. And Jesus said, no, it wasn't that way in the beginning. In fact, these were the words that he said. He said, Moses said that to you because your hearts are hard. In other words, there's sin. And he said, when God created man and woman, he said, for this reason, a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and the two will become one flesh. So then, therefore, what God has put together, let no man put aside. And he then said that if a man divorces his wife and then remarries another woman, that he commits adultery with that other woman he married, unless his wife cheated on him and left him for another man. And the disciples then said, gee, that teaching's hard. That means before you get married, you really need to think about what you're doing. And Jesus, and then they said it would be better for any person not to get married if that is the case. So the thing is, that is why we always warn people, when you get into a relationship, if you want to honor God, you better sit down and have a look very carefully at what you're going to be doing in terms of the marriage. Due to the fact that once you're married, it's for keeps, eh? That's it. That's it. That's it. You're in a prison. You're in a prison that you created with your own words. Amen? Okay. So think carefully.
You can make it a nice prison or a horrible prison.
It can have pads.
It can have what?
Pads, like padded walls. And air conditioner, TV, Manchester United, whatever. Or it can have blades sticking out the wall. You know what I mean? It's just cutting you and slicing you all the time.
Second question. Why do women expect men to pay for a date?
Why do they expect men to pay for a date? You want me to say?
You answer.
All right, don't you have an
You
answer?
know me, I have an answer. I'll speak. I won't even wait for you.
Well, first of all, if you have a daughter, okay, when a guy wants to take your daughter and marry her, the thing that you want to know is that he can protect her, he can provide for her, he can be faithful to her. He sure as hell's going to pay. Never mind what the girl thinks. I'm telling you now, if you take my daughter out, you better pay.
Not can, he wants to protect her. He wants to provide for her. He wants to be faithful to her for the rest of his life.
She's like, the ring.
She's his treasure.
She's like the ring to Schmiegel. He goes, wow, my precious.
Okay, next question. Does that answer your question?
He's ugly, she's beautiful.
Why do men cheat?
Why do men cheat? The same reason women do.
That's correct. So that's correct. I agree with that answer. The Bible says the wages of sin is death. Why do people cheat? Because they sin.
Why do people die?
Is it okay to cheat? It's not okay to cheat.
Why do people die?
Is it okay to sin? It's not okay to sin.
No, you can sin, but you're going to die. So it's fine. If you want to sin, go for it, but you're going to die.
Okay, I don't know
That's
how
no lie.
Question got into youth, but I would imagine there's marrieds here.
What?
And I want to...
No, worried.
I want to say to you, as we were looking at this earlier, now you're making me laugh, so I can't say it properly. I'll say it just now. The question is this. Why do women expect men to perform way better than them during sex? All in the name of being satisfied. Now, when we read this,
Sorry.
did you get the question, or must I read it
A
again?
question like that in church.
No, just wait. Must I read it again?
Lucky it's not Sunday.
Listen now, shush now. Listen. What?
Freaking out, yeah.
Why do women expect men to perform way better than them during sex, all in the name of being satisfied? Now, when we looked at this question, we were on the phone together and we both went, No, I'm talking.
That was when you heard quack because the phone dropped.
Yes.
On my side.
And then, now listen now, we don't have time. So, we both actually said, you know what? Sex in a marriage is completely different to sex outside of a marriage. And we couldn't relate to this question as a married couple who had sex in marriage and have sex in marriage.
Don't say that, yeah?
No, it's a fact. This is biblical. So why do women expect men to perform way better than them during sex, all in the name of being satisfied? Whoever wrote that question is an unmarried person.
Yeah, well, most of them are youth, you know what I mean? So hopefully they're unmarried. But the thing about that is, you know what the problem is? The problem is that God never designed you to sleep around before you get married. Now, if you don't sleep around, and then on your wedding night, the first person you sleep with happens to be the person you marry, you've got no one to compare them to.
Say that again.
You've got no one to compare them to. You will be satisfied.
Now, I'm going to pause in there. When I was dating Gavin, which was, I was
Paused,
sitting
Vix.
working,
I'm paused.
where I was working it out during worship. I was worshiping, and then I sat and thought 31 years ago. I was in church with my husband, who was my boyfriend at the time, 31 years ago at youth. It is 31 years later, and we're together at youth. And 31, I still
young,
thought
eh?
it's 21 years, and then I counted on my fingers in decades, and I was like, oh my word, it's 31 years ago. And
Well,
when
3
we
decades.
were dating,
Now I'm freaked out.
my cousin said to me, I was close with him, and he said to me, have you had sex? And I said to him, and we're talking straight, I know people are already cringing, you guys make me laugh. But you do it, but you can't hear it from your pastor. So, he said to me, have you guys had sex? And I said to him, no, I'm waiting to get married. And he looked at me in disgust. And he said to me, how do you know you're going to be sexually compatible unless you have sex before marriage? And I looked at him like he was mad. And I said to him, I know. I just know it's a God thing. It is a God thing. You don't have to practice with anyone. And what Gavin said, what did you say earlier?
Parts fit.
You didn't say that. Say it properly.
There's a spiritual connection, okay? There's a spiritual connection. And I want you to listen very carefully. All right, now listen seriously. There's a spiritual connection. When a man and a woman get married, and then they come together. And that spiritual connection gets messed up when people do it the way the world's doing it today. And then it just becomes about a physical thing. And the physical thing, you know, I don't know, it's like a drug addict. They get that first high. And for the rest of their lives, they're trying to replicate that first high. And what do? They normally end up killing themselves in an overdose trying to get the first high. Okay? I know none of you are drug addicts, so you don't know about trying to get the first high. You know, just say yes, yes. I don't take drugs, yes, yes. You know what I'm saying? Now, sex not done God's way, you mess up the spiritual component. And it becomes something broken. It becomes something destroyed. So that question comes from someone who doesn't understand. There's actually a spiritual fusion as well as a physical fusion that takes place when this thing's done God's way, and the two become one flesh.
All right, should pastors or leaders, I was very interested in the next word, interfere. Should pastors or leaders interfere with relationships or potential relationships amongst the church members, and if so, to what extent?
Okay. What kind of a question is that? You know, the person who asked that question And I suppose there's a number of brains that question's sitting in right now. All right? Here's my answer. What makes you think that we're that interested in your little relationship that we want to interfere? All right? The reality is, if it's Kayla or Sasha Lee, we're going to interfere. You are my daughter, I'm going to interfere. I don't care. I'll beat you up. All right? I'm pretty sure if you're going to go after Myra, Patrick's daughter, Patrick's going to sort you out. I promise you Patrick's going to sort you out. And he does gym, so he's you know what I mean? There's going to be, you understand what I'm saying? So there we interfere. But anyone else, people come to us if they want their relationship to work. And we know what we found? People come with stupid questions like that, normally don't listen. And this is what I say to you. This is what I always used to say. You'll start dating, and then you'll have sex, because that's what the world does, and that's what all the movies teach you to do. And 6 months later, maybe 3 months later, after you start dating, we'll know that there's problems because you'll be fighting in the car park. And you won't get married. One of the things we also tell people is because of the level of sexual immorality that is going on in the world, because of the fact that most people will become Christians and they've already, they've already done all the stuff. That if you now want to do it right, you've actually got to be radical about it. We tell them, you start kissing, you're going to have sex. And if you have sex, it's going to become like sandpaper. Because you know what happens when you have sex with someone you're not married to? You're taking something from them that's not yours. And at the end of the day, I don't know if you realize this, but you actually build unforgiveness against that person. Because they're taking that precious thing from you and they haven't made the commitment to you. And that hurts. And so, your relationship starts on a terrible footing like that. And so we say, okay, you want to do this thing right. You want to be like Shane and Bernice, Patrick and Tando, Ryan and Denise, Zenzo and Tando, all of these couples that actually did listen. And you want to have children, and then you want people to say, you were like that, I can't believe it. Then you better be radical. And you've messed up sexually before, so start kissing. Both of you have messed up sexually before, you know it's going to happen. And so then what happens is some of them, they kiss for the first time on their wedding day. All right, that was quite a kiss. We witnessed them.
And there's trust. You've got no trust in a relationship if you're sexually involved. You heard that question earlier. Gavin and I could not relate to it. We've been married for a long time. We looked at the question and we both went, We couldn't relate. But that's because it's an outside of marriage, sex outside of marriage question. And many of you have got huge insecurity issues. You've got huge trust issues because you get involved sexually. I want to maybe add this in. Many girls are battling with porn, and it's been for many years now, I've sat with girls, and they're so deeply bound in porn. And I'm like, I know years ago guys could get stuck in that, Christian guys, because of what they open themselves up to. But I've almost been shocked at the fact that girls have gotten into it. And I actually realized with this whole meta world, some of you know who I'm talking about, others of you don't. The aim is to get people to live in a room where all they do, and many of you can relate to this with gaming. You can spend hours gaming on your own with people in a world that does not exist, actually. And now you're doing relationships like that, and most guys and girls have relationships that are online. They're just sitting in secret, having messages. Every message sent is an adrenaline message. They're getting involved in pornography because the guys send it to the girls. The girls think they're in control. They open up a door and they can't close it. And the devil steps into that relationship. Lust steps into that relationship. And from there, they've opened up so many doors they cannot close. And God needs to deliver you. You need to hear me. Only God can deliver you, and He can deliver you. And He's faithful to deliver you. But only God can deliver you, and you have to ask God to deliver you from that.
If I can just say, we've had two types of people that started relationships in the church. Those that came to us and they listened, and they're still married, and those that said we're interfering. And when they say that we're interfering, we say, cheers. You don't have to listen to us. What do we know? We've just been married 28 years. What do we know? We don't know about relationships. I mean, I kept her for 28 years. You're still happy, right? Because sometimes you say you're not, but that's a lie.
No, when I say I'm not lying.
Yeah, but it's
I
moments.
just want to hit you on the head.
Overall, you're happy.
But overall, I'm happy.
If I were to kick the bucket, you'd be sad.
Very.
You wouldn't be happy. Thinking, I can get someone else now, I can do it right this time. So, you want to be a real man? Say, Drake, you want to be a real man? Huh? Keep one woman happy for 28 years, and she's just unhappy every now and then.
That is a real.
You can give me a round of applause.
Man.
Come on. Don't worry, she kept me happy as well.
All right. So, is it okay to date?
So we got married in 1994. Some of you weren't even born. Yo. Even I'm impressed now that I say that. It's in the last century.
Okay, I couldn't make out that sentence. I'm going to move on. Relationship. When you're looking for the one when you are looking for the one, what characteristics you should look in a woman? Like, is she able to be a good mother? Will she stick around? Oh, I'm battling to get my page to move. Will she stick around with me through thick and thin? And then this one is pretty much the same, so I'm going to read the next question. How do you know the intention of a woman in the long run? Like, let's say you're with a woman and she's chasing your dreams and she's willing to tag along and run towards your dream and help you. Then you get to the point where you're successful and all of a sudden she becomes very difficult to the point that it's your wealth that she's after and not you. How do you avoid that in the beginning of the relationship?
Okay, this is why you shouldn't say why the pastor's interfering. When you got a question, when the questions come out like this. Because this is the thing. People are incredibly insecure when they start relationships because they're doing it without God. The thing is, what we say, it's quite simple. There's 4 tests. The first test is it the right woman? So obviously the woman can apply the test as well. The bubblegum test. So does your heart go boom, 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 boom? That's test number 1. Test number 2 is the sharing test. Does their heart go boom, 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 boom? Now the problem is normally you guys stop at number 2. There's still another 2 tests. All right, for long term, there's another 2 tests. The third test is this. Do you share the same vision? If you don't share the same vision, your relationship ain't going to last. So if you're a guy, is she excited by your vision? Is she willing to follow you? Does she think, gee, that's something I'd like to do with my life? And the fourth test is a faith test. If they're not a Christian, run.
And that's what we're going to do right now because it's the next section.